My name is Dr. Elias Vance, and I chased déjà vu for 2 decades. Like everyone else, I experienced those strange, fleeting moments where a new environment feels profoundly, perfectly familiar, a whisper of recognition in an unfamiliar hallway. Traditional science dismisses it as a glitch in temporal perception, a momentary misfire between the brain's short-term and long-term memory centers. But I knew better. My intuition, honed by a lifetime spent studying the fringes of neurological data, told me déjà vu wasn't a glitch, it was a leak. My private research facility, tucked away in the isolated Utah desert, was designed to track and map these leaks. I built the Temporal Resonance Detector, TRD, a device that didn't just measure brain activity, but the subtle, localized distortions in the spacetime continuum surrounding a subject during a déjà vu episode. The data was impossible. Every time a subject reported déjà vu, the TRD registered a minuscule, instantaneous echo from a specific, distinct point in the past. It wasn't the brain misremembering the present, it was the present overlapping a precise past event. The focus of my research quickly narrowed to a single, extraordinary subject, a quiet, unassuming librarian named Clara Reed. Clara's déjà vu episodes were not only frequent but intensely vivid. She once stopped mid-sentence in a crowded café, claiming she knew the exact pattern of rain about to hit the window, and she was right, down to the second. What made her unique was the sheer emotional weight of her episodes. They were never about mundane things, they were always centered around intense, deeply personal moments, often involving a figure she couldn't quite place, but felt profoundly connected to. I began mapping her episodes onto a timeline. The echoes registered by the TRD all clustered around the mid-1940s, always in a coastal European city, and always, strangely, involving a particular piece of music, a specific, obscure jazz track. I realized I wasn't just tracking a neurological event, I was tracking a relationship. My theory crystallized: if reincarnation was real, and if the soul retained a fragmented consciousness between lives, then déjà vu wasn't a memory from another life, it was a brief, painful crossfade between the life she was living now, and the life she had just finished. The intensity of her déjà vu suggested her previous life ended abruptly, leaving a psychic wound that bled into the present. Clara and I traveled to the location identified by the TRD data, a small, rebuilt coastal town in northern France. We found the old café, now a modern art gallery, that featured so prominently in her mental leaks. As we stood in the empty gallery, Clara suddenly gasped, her eyes unfocused, and she reached out, grasping for something I couldn't see. The TRD screamed, registering its highest ever temporal resonance spike. "The painting," she whispered, tears streaming down her face. The painting was supposed to be here, a small harbor scene, painted by Elias. The name was chillingly close to mine. Using local archives, we confirmed that the gallery was once a popular cafe in the 1940s, frequented by a local resistance fighter and amateur painter named Émile Vance, my namesake, and almost certainly, my past self. Émile was known to have been deeply in love with a woman named Claire, a local nurse who often frequented the cafe. The evidence was undeniable. Clara Reed was the reincarnation of Claire, and I, Elias Vance, was the reincarnation of Émile Vance. Our intense connection, our shared life's work on the edge of time, it was all an unconscious compulsion driven by a past, unfinished love story. The déjà vu wasn't hers alone, it was our collective memory trying to resequence itself. The final, horrifying turn came when we found the police reports detailing Émile's death. Émile and Claire had planned to escape together, meeting at the cafe on a specific night, but Émile was betrayed and executed by the Gestapo right outside the cafe entrance. Claire survived only because she arrived 5 minutes late. She lived a long, lonely life, haunted by the memory, dying peacefully decades later. The revelation wasn't that we were lovers in a past life. The final, crushing twist lay in the timing, the dates, the resonant frequencies, the precise moment of their intended escape. Everything aligned perfectly with a realization I made about my own life. I looked at Clara, my brilliant, beautiful subject, who was also my Claire. I realized that every major event in my current life, my decision to become a neurologist, my focus on déjà vu, even my accidental discovery of the TRD, was not the product of free will. It was pre-programmed by the unfinished psychic trauma of Émile. Then came the twist. Émile's police report listed the exact time of the betrayal as 3:02 a.m. Tuesday. I recognized that moment. That was the exact same day and time I had made the initial, critical discovery of the temporal resonance leak 4 years ago, the moment that set me on the path to finding Clara. The horrifying truth, déjà vu is not a memory of another life. It is the mechanism of a cosmic time loop. The soul, traumatized by an abrupt, tragic end, continuously resequences subsequent lives to try and correct the mistake of the previous life. We hadn't accidentally found each other again. We had been forced back together by Émile's unresolved grief, living lives that were mere iterative attempts to escape the betrayal. The déjà vu was the system's way of pushing us onto the correct, original timeline, forcing us toward the café, forcing us toward that critical moment of betrayal so we could potentially change it. And as Clara reached out to touch the exact spot on the ground where Émile died, she looked at me with an expression of absolute recognition, not of love, but of fear. She had lived this moment before. She was about to arrive 5 minutes late. I realized with sickening clarity that the life I was living wasn't mine. It was a rerun designed solely to save Claire/Clara, and I was now standing at the precise epicenter of the loop, ready to make the same fatal mistake. The silence of the gallery felt less like quiet recognition and more like the loading screen for a final, catastrophic betrayal. I looked down at my watch. It was 3 a.m. I had 2 minutes to defy destiny.